Hello there, comic book friends. This is a video entry for Francis McMenamin's 300 subscribers contest. I don't know how I got anniversary in there, but anyway, he wants us to show something from our collection that's comic book related, but not a comic that's our prized possession or favorite. And I have something for you too that even comes with a story. It comes with a very geeky story too. It might not be quite as geeky as Amanda Eagle's weeping uncontrollably when she met Scott McCloud last week or so. Check out her video on that. But it is a very geeky story. So let me show you the piece. And what is it, you ask? This is a piece of John Romita Sr. original art. Now, where does it come from? Why does it exist like this? Well, this is because what this is John Romita testing a piece of paper to see, he's testing its qualities. And the reason he was, in case you don't know, John Romita was art director at Marvel for decades. And this right here is blue-lined paper. I'm sure you've seen some of this Marvel music paper. You may have seen original art drawn on something like this over the years. It's 11 by 17. And Marvel and DC would both hand out this paper to artists. It's kind of changed in the digital age. But so that all these blue lines are the right sizes. So that the artist knows what size to draw the piece of art, so that it helps with the production process. If artists send in artwork on all different sized pieces of paper, it's going to be a mess to try and fit it all together and get it ready to print. So Marvel and DC both, I think Image did it in the 90s too, printed up their own paper with blue lines on it. Now when it comes to paper for artists, it's a little bit tricky, because generally pencilers like paper with a little bit of tooth to it, a little bit of roughness, and inkers like paper very, very smooth, so that if they're using a pen, it doesn't get caught on it. So what John Romita had to do was he worked with, if you look up here, you see it says Plaza Strathmore. I think it was Plaza Art Supplies was the name of the place that they were getting the paper through. That thing is an art store, and Strathmore is the paper company. So John Romita would work with the paper company to get a sort of a paper that both the inker and penciler would like. So it couldn't be too toothy, it couldn't be too smooth. So he had to get it just, and if you look on here, Speedball is the name of the pen that he used, and he's using all different sizes. And I don't know if you can see it quite on here, but there's even like in this section right over here, there's whiteout. So he put whiteout down and then went over it with a pen to see how good, that would work. So, John Romita Sr. knows what he's doing, and he was putting this paper through its paces to see if it was the paper they wanted to make into their blue line paper. And they had a special stock in the 90s that I think Strathmore ended up calling Marvel stock, because, like I said, John Romita worked with the paper company just the exact composition. And I think other companies just bought that stock because it was good. But the story goes, if you look up here, there's a date up there. What is that? 5/1/90. So May 1st, 1990 is when he drew this, and I guess it was a short time afterwards. And back in the picture, what is it? 25-year-old Jared was working in the Marvel Comics offices. I was a production guy. I did, boring design production stuff that you have to do in order to get the comic books printed stuff, graphic design stuff, as it's called. It's all on computer now, but back then it wasn't all on computer. But anyway, John Romita was the art director there. And, he saw him all the time or whatever, talked to him. But on one particular occasion, this occasion, I had to go into his office and talk to him about whatever. I don't even remember what. So I'm in there in his office talking to him, and I look down on his desk and see this. And as I'm talking to him, he picks this up off his desk and throws it in the garbage. And when I couldn't even help myself, I went, "Wait a minute, you don't want that? Can I have it?" And John Romita is the nicest guy in the world. He's one of these guys who, anybody who meets him has nice things to say about him. He's the sweetest man you'll ever meet. I'm not the only one to say. Everybody in the comics industry who's ever met him says that John Romita's a nice guy. Well, as I burst out with that, "You don't want that? Can I have it?" He looked at me like I just grew another head. And he was like, "Sure." He picked it up out of the garbage and, "You can have it if you want it," and handed it to me. And I was like, "Cool." And then we went on about our business. But I have kept this ever since because, first of all, those are just two beautiful drawings there. I love them. And I can't remember which artist told me this. Someone I was talking to way back when, probably about this time, made the very true observation that artists like to see the guts of a work. Meaning that most people just want to see the finished product because that's what they do. When you're a person who buys comic books and likes comic books, you like the finished comic book best. But when you're an artist, you spend a lot of your time with the unfinished product. So you spend a lot of your time, working with whatever, drawing, paper, pen, into making it a finished product. And then you don't spend much time with the finished product. So when he said artists love to see the guts of the work, this is some of the guts. This is what we artists love to see. We love to see how the finished product became. What steps did he take? I just love that water technique. Look at that water. You don't know how many times I've looked at that and gone, "Wow, that is some great water." And this is what, artists are fascinated by this stuff, and so am I. But there you go. That is my most prized possession, comic book wise. That's not a comic book. And if you want your own copy of it, many years later, when Corey Settlemeyer was the editor on John Romita Sr. Marvel Visionaries, he was looking around for stuff to publish in it. So I scanned that in for him. And there it is, printed. So you can get your own printed version of it to stare at in John Romita Sr. Visionaries. Let's hold it up with it, but like I said, you can have your own. There's the original, there's the printed copy. What is it? Fan sketches and doodles to test artboard. This is the doodles to test artboard part. And if you want to see how I keep my original art, I don't always frame things, but I use, here's another piece of Bristol board. I use these photo corners and I mount it on a larger board. Oops. Just so, most comic book original art is 11 by 17. Excuse me, I have to do this on a flat surface. So I find it easier to take stuff that's like an odd size like this. It looks like 7 by 12 or something, and make it into, see, now it's photo cornered onto an 11 by 17 board. And I slip that into an 11 by 17 original art sheet of Mylar. Now I can handle it, look at it, pull it out if I want, without worrying about damaging it. But that's how I like to store my original art. I don't usually frame anything because I like to pick it up and see it, even if it's in Mylar. But there you go. And, oh, one other thing I wanted, and for any of you having contests out there, I noticed that It's only the contests that have one question that I do. Contests that have 3, 4, 5 questions, I'm all like, I can't remember all those questions, especially when it takes me 10 minutes to answer one question. It'll take me an hour to do a 5 question. But there you go. My geekiest moment. Saying, "You don't want that? Can I have it?" As John Romita Sr. threw this into the garbage can. But I'm still happy about that geeky moment all these years later. You guys have a good one.